Okay, so as I said, we're now going to go ahead and make our rounds here and go talk to some people. If I recall, Presley doesn't have anything new to add.
Yes, Commander.
Nope.
Carry
And
on,
I'm pretty
Presley.
sure Joker doesn't either. It's mainly our squad mates that have the new conversations that we can be able to get new stuff from. We'll start with Caden.
Commander, do you have a minute?
I'm listening.
I always make time for my officers.
Off the record, I think there's something wrong here. This Saren is looking for records on some kind of galactic extinction, but we can't get backup from the Council? Sorry, Commander. There's writing on the wall here, but someone isn't reading it.
The Council doesn't want to believe anything's wrong. I'd call it human nature, but
I hear you. It just seems like a group that's been around as long as the Council should see this coming. I mean, it's funny, we finally get out here, and the final frontier was already settled. And the residents don't even seem impressed by the view. Or the dangers.
well, you're a romantic. Did you sign on for the dream, Malenko? Secure a man's future in space?
Yeah, I read a lot of those books when I was a kid, where the hero goes to space to prove himself worthy of a woman he loves, or, you know, for justice. Or maybe I was a romantic in the beginning, but I thought about it after brain camp. Biotic acclimation and temperance training. I'm not looking for the dream. I just want to do some good. See what's out here. Sorry if I got too informal. Protocol wasn't a big focus back in Bot.
Tell me about it.
Biotic acclimation and temperance didn't last past the airlock. To the kids they hauled in, it was brain camp. Sorry, hauled in is unkind. We were encouraged to commit to an evaluation of our abilities so an understanding of biotics could be compiled. There are worse results of accidental exposure to element zero in the womb. Beats the brain tumors some kids grew up with.
Is there some question about how you were exposed?
My mother was downwind of a transport crash. It was before there were human biotics, a little after the discovery of the Martian ruins. It only gets iffy around 63 when Kinetics was running out of first-gen subjects. Until then, they'd relied on accidentals. A bunch of guys in suits show up at your door after school, and next thing you know, you're out on Jump Zero.
Wow.
Jump Zero is Gagarin Station, right? What's it like?
Yeah, that's the official name. Biggest and farthest facility we had for decades. Right on the termination shock, the outer edge of the solar system. It's where they did all the Goose Chase FTL research before we caught on to using mass effect fields. It was a sterile research platform when I was there.
There were other kids in the same boat, right? At least you weren't alone out there.
That's true. We did have a little circle that'd get together every night before lights out. We didn't have much to do, though. It was a research platform then, and Kinetics kept Jump Zero off the extranet to prevent leaks.
And you must have had plenty of time to get to know each other.
Yeah, we'd sit around and bull every night after dinner, play cards or network games. There was this girl named Rana, who had a little circle grow up around her. She was from Turkey. Her family was very rich, but she was smart and charming as hell. Beautiful, but not stuck up about it. Like you, I guess. Yeah.
Little obvious on the flirt there, eh, Caden?
Sounds like she was special to you.
She was. Maybe she felt the same. But things never felt together. Training, you know.
You know of any intentional exposures for certain?
No one knows. Doesn't mean they didn't happen. As big as the exposures were, it was hard to track down accidentals. It was different then. No one knew the potential, so there wasn't a lot of regulation. Anything Kinetics did was gold. I'm not saying they intentionally detonated drives over our outposts, but in retrospect, they were damn quick on the scene.
Jump Zero's a long way from home. What was it like?
The grand gateway to humanity looks a lot better in the vids. Anyway, This was supposed to be a casual debrief, not a bull session about stuff that happened years ago.
I wanted to get to know you a little better, that's all. Thanks for the talk, Caden.
Well, you're welcome, ma'am. You, make a habit of getting this personal with everyone?
No, I don't. We'll talk again later.
I'll need some time to process that, Commander. But, yeah, I'd like that.
You know what's funny? Is that Jennifer Hale at times really does go ahead and put the flirt on herself as Shepard. This really comes to the forefront whenever we go talk to Jacob in Mass Effect 2, because whenever we would go there and he's like, "Can I help you with something?" and you have hear Shepard go, "I'm more interested in just talking for a bit." That's how male Shep says. FemShep goes, "I'm more interested in just talking for a bit." And it's just like, oh my gosh, woman, you sound like you are just such a flirt with Jacob every time you talk to him. It's just really funny how at times Hale just really put the flirt on as Shepard at times. And that was kind of a little example right there. Like I said, I still haven't decided if I'm going to actually have her romance Caden. Heck, I'll be honest with you guys, I've actually started contemplating whether or not I may actually still keep him alive or not, but I'm saving that for when we get to Ashley. I'll give my reasoning as to why.
Commander, are you coming to check up on me?
You look much better. How are you feeling?
Dr. Chakwas assures me I am going to be fine. I was impressed with her knowledge of Asari physiology.
You know what I'm impressed by is again, just I cannot help but re-picture how this used to look in the original game. And oh my gosh, it just looks so much better. Just look at Liara's face. Liara's face looks so good here compared to how it used to look in the original. They didn't really do an improvement to Liara's face basically until the Shadow Broker DLC, and it really helped that DLC at times. So just to see her face also have a really good touch-up here in this game is so nice to see.
You're in good hands. Dr. Chakwas knows what she's doing.
I never properly thanked you for saving me from the Geth, Commander. If you hadn't shown up,
I'm just glad we got there in time.
So am I. I know you took a chance bringing me aboard this ship. I have seen the way your crew looks at me. They do not trust me. But I am not like Benezia. I will do whatever I can to help you stop Saren. I promise.
Don't worry, Liara. I trust you. I know you won't let me down.
It means a lot to hear you say that, Commander. Thank you.
Do you know why Benezia joined up with Saren?
I don't understand it. She was always outspoken about the need for the Asari to become more involved in shaping galactic events. Maybe she thought allying herself with Saren would somehow be for the greater good in the long run. At least I hope so.
Just to remind you, we meet Liara's quote-unquote father, as she says when we meet her, no, I didn't pop her out. So that's why I call her father. In 2, the matriarch who's the bartender, and then we find out that that's her later on in 3, just kind of keeping an eye on her. She kind of said a similar thing to what she wanted to do in terms of having the Asari be more involved in actually, shaping galactic decisions and the direction they were going. So it's just interesting that both of Liara's parents wanted to do that. That they wanted to be able to help get involved and shape the galaxy, while the rest of the Asari people were like, no, we're not doing that.
This hurts you, doesn't it?
None of this makes any sense to me. I have not spoken to Benezia in many years, but I know her, and this was not like her. Something changed.
I'd like to know more about the Asari.
We were the first species to discover the Citadel. We were instrumental in forming the Council, and we always strive to be the voice of peaceful cooperation in galactic disputes. My people believe we are all part of a single galactic community. Each species contributes something to the greater whole. Although we seek to understand other species, it seems few of them seek to understand us. The galaxy is filled with rumors and misinformation about my people.
Like what?
Most of the inaccuracies are centered around our mating rituals. My species is monogendered. Male and female have no real meaning for us. We still require a partner to reproduce. This second parent, however, may be of any species and any gender.
I don't understand. Your species can mate with anyone?
Mating is not quite the proper term, not as you understand it. Physical contact may or may not be involved, but it is not an essential element of the union. The true connection is mental. Our physiology allows us to meld with other beings. We can touch the very depths of their minds. We explore the genetic memory of their species. We share the most basic elements of their individual and racial identities. We then pass these traits on to our daughters. It is how we learn to grow as a species and how we develop a greater understanding of other races.
Just a reminder, even though Liara is going to insinuate that she is a pureblood, as they call it, though it's really a insulting derogatory term, which is I'm actually gonna bring up again when we get to Ashley. I'm building up to that, can you tell? Her father tells us that Liara's grandfather was a Krogan, which means Liara is not 100% pure Asari. When you think about it, she's probably a quarter Krogan. Now, I don't recall if we ever found out who Benezia's parents were, if one of Benezia's parents was not an Asari, but it's just kind of funny to think that Liara is not 100% sorry, that there's a bit of Krogan in her. Just gotta keep that in mind for later, when you start to see Liara's a bit more aggressive side.
What happens to your partner after the union?
Every relationship is different. Some unions are a single encounter with both parents parting ways afterwards. Others can be more long-term. Sometimes an Asari and her partner will stay together for many decades.
This is something we actually see examples of later on in the next couple of games. One of my favorites, of course, is the Asari and the Krogan that we meet on Elysium, Char, and how incredibly wonderful and adorable those two are. Seeing them end up together. Of course, we can decide if they end up together or not. But this is something that Asari actually kind of comments to us later on, where she talks about how if you decide to, as an Asari, say, mate with a human, you're basically with them for about a century and then they pass on. Whereas if you, say, join up with a Krogan, well, then you're basically looking to be together for centuries together if you decide to be partners in that regard. So here's an important question. Who was your father?
Do you know who Matriarch Benezia chose as her partner?
She rarely spoke of her partner. Though I know my father, if you want to use that term, was another Asari.
And again, we will get to meet her later.
I thought you always needed another species to serve as one of the parents.
Think about it, Shepard. If we were not able to mate with our own species, we would have died out long before we ever mastered spaceflight and left our homeworld. Union with our own kind is no longer common, not for the purposes of reproduction. Most Asari believe it weakens our species. Asari daughters inherit racial traits from the father species. If both parents are Asari, then nothing has been gained, or so conventional wisdom would hold. I am what is sometimes called a pureblood, though no Asari would ever be cruel enough to say the word to my face. It is a great insult among my people. It is possible Benezia's partner was embarrassed by their union. She may have been too ashamed to publicly acknowledge me as her offspring.
Trust me, Liara, that is not the case.
Maybe she wanted to meet you but couldn't. Something could have happened to her. Maybe she passed away.
You might be right. I hope you are. But I have no way to know for sure.
She's just watching from the shadows.
Benezia never spoke of her partner. Whatever happened, it caused her too much pain to dwell on it. She raised me by herself, though that is not uncommon. Many Asari raise their children alone, particularly if the father species is short-lived. Often the partner will pass on long before the child reaches maturity.
Do you know who Matriarch Benezia chose as her
She rarely spoke of her partner.
Benezia never told you her partner's name?
Union with our own kind is no longer common, not for the purposes of reproduction.
Okay, so then she just repeats that same dialogue.
Benezia's partner. Many Asari raise their children alone, particularly
You
if
Asari live for 1,000 years. What happens when your partner dies?
few sapient species live as long as my kind. We have learned to take a philosophical approach to our unions. We do not focus on the inevitable loss of our partners. Instead, we enjoy the time we spend with them. And even after they're gone, a part of them lives on in us. The Union is a connection that transcends both time and space.
I should go.
Goodbye, Commander. I get the feeling you want to ask me something, Commander.
Tell me about yourself, Liara.
Me? I am afraid I am not very interesting, Commander. I spend most of my time on remote digs, unearthing mundane items buried in long-forgotten Prothean ruins.
Sounds dangerous. And lonely.
Sometimes I would run afoul of indigenous life forms or stumble across a small band of mercenaries or privateers, but I was always careful. Until the Geth followed me to Artemis Tau, I never found myself in any situation my biotics could not handle. As for the solitude, well, that is one aspect that most appealed to me. Sometimes I just need to get away from other people.
You don't like other people?
I suppose it comes from being a matriarch's daughter. People expected me to follow in Benezia's footsteps. They wanted me to become a leader of our people. Matriarchs guide their followers into the future. They seek the truth of what is yet to come. Maybe that's why I became so interested in the secrets of the past. It sounds so foolish when I say it out loud. It sounds like I became an archaeologist simply to spite Benezia.
All children rebel against their parents. It's a natural part of growing up.
Aha, you share the wisdom of the matriarch, Shepard. That is exactly what Benezia said when I told her of my decision. But there was more to it than that. I felt drawn to the past. The Protheans were these wondrous, mysterious figures. I wanted to know everything about them. That is why I find you so fascinating. You were marked by the beacon on Eden Prime. You were touched by working Prothean technology.
Sounds like you want to dissect me in a lab somewhere.
What? No, I did not mean to insinuate. I never meant to offend you, Shepard. I only meant that you would be an interesting specimen for an in-depth study. No, that's even worse.
Isn't she freaking adorable? Can you see why she became my canon romance for my male shepherd? He just couldn't help but fall in love with how cute and adorable she was. And then, of course, she grew more confident later on.
Calm down, Liara. I was only joking.
Joking? Oh, by the goddess, how could I be so dense? You must think I am a complete and utter fool. Now you know why I prefer to spend my time in the field with data disks and computers. I always seem to say something embarrassing around other people. Please, just pretend this conversation never happened.
Nerd!
I should go.
Goodbye, Shepard.
No. If you act that way, we do not think you are a fool or anything. We think that is incredibly cute and adorable. At least I do. Maybe not every guy does, but... Ladies, if you say stuff like that, we're not thinking that you're like a fool or an idiot or something. That's... For guys like me, I find that incredibly cute and adorable. There's nothing to be embarrassed or ashamed about in regards to that. Just so you know.
So, we've got Saren on the run.
Yep.
It won't be long now. Saren's good, but I'm better.
Good. He's rotten. To the core. I could tell as soon as I met him.
Why didn't you tell me this sooner?
I would have if I thought it was important.
I think I'd like to hear about it just the same.
This was a while ago. A bunch of mercs were bragging about a job out near the edges of the Terminus systems. They said it paid well and the boss was never around to ride them. They said he was looking for more men, too. So I checked it out.
I didn't know Saren was openly recruiting mercs.
It wasn't that open, and he only showed his face once. We'd been raiding ships in the area for months when we took out this massive cargo freighter. Our biggest haul yet. I was on board checking bodies for valuables, looking for some extra credits. That's when I saw him.
What did Saren want with the ship?
I don't know what he wanted. He was just moving through the ship, watching. A couple of the mercs called him by name, but he never spoke to them. Never spoke to anyone. I had a really bad feeling about him. So I got the hell out. Didn't even wait to get paid.
Whose ship was it?
There was a Volus trading vessel. Big one. Lots of guards. But they were no match for us.
What kind of cargo was the freighter carrying? What was Saren after?
I don't know. All I saw on that ship was food and medical supplies. There were some basic weapons, but nothing big. If there was anything of value on that ship, I didn't see it. That's why I didn't mention it sooner.
That's the only time you saw him?
Yeah. Didn't even know who he was. Still wouldn't if I hadn't joined up with you. But my instincts were right. Every other merc on that mission turned up dead within a week. Every damn one.
So long, Rex.
Shepard.
Alright. Let's go talk to Tally next. I believe this is the one where she's a little homesick.
Oh, hello, Shepard.
Yep.
Are you okay?
I don't know. Your ship is amazing, and your crew's been really great to me, especially your chief engineer. But I just sort of feel out of place. The Normandy runs so smooth it feels like we're not even moving, and the engines are so quiet. How do you sleep at night?
The silence wakes you up?
Back on the flotilla, the last thing you want to hear is silence. It means an engine's died or an air filter shut down. I guess you don't have to worry about that here. But old habits die hard. But it's more than just the silence. This ship feels so empty. It's like half the crew is missing. Back home, I couldn't wait to go on my pilgrimage. I couldn't wait to get away from the crowds. Now that I'm out here, I kind of miss them.
Sometimes we don't appreciate what we have till it's gone.
That's true. I'm starting to wonder if that's what the pilgrimage is really about. It's given me a whole new perspective on my people and our culture. You know, there's always a few who go on their pilgrimages and never return. I always assumed something bad happened to them, but maybe they just wanted a different life.
You do plan to return to the migrant fleet, right?
I could never abandon my people, Shepard. I will go back eventually, but we have to stop Saren first. Otherwise, I might not have a home to go back to.
I should go.
See you later.
Commander, how are you?
Why did you want to be a C-Sec officer in the first place?
That's a good question. There were several reasons, I guess.
Like what?
Probably the same as most officers. I wanted to fight injustice, wanted to help people. I guess my father had something to do with it too. He was C-Sec, one of the best. I grew up hearing about his accomplishments or seeing his picture on the vids after a big arrest. He's taking my resignation pretty hard.
That's tough. But you'd think he'd be impressed you're going after Saren.
My father's a C-Sec man to the bone. Do things right or don't do them at all, he says. He thinks I'm being too rash, too impatient. He's worried I'll become just like Saren. He actually talked me out of becoming a Spectre when I was younger, for the same reasons.
You were asked to be a Spectre.
Well, I was targeted as a possible Spectre candidate. Me and about 1,000 other Turian military recruits. I could have received special training, but my father didn't like it.
He despises the Spectres. He hates the idea of someone having unlimited power with no accountability. He wouldn't like you, Commander. No offense.
I suppose I can understand his concern.
You can. But Saren's not gonna play by our rules, C-Sec's rules. If you want to nail Saren, you need to send someone who isn't restricted by policies and procedures.
Just because you can break the rules doesn't mean you should. I don't need to stoop to Saren's level to stop him. And neither do you, Garrus.
I see what you mean, but I'll think about it. Thanks, Commander.
Alright. If this is the conversation I think it is...
Commander?
What's your opinion of the last mission?
Not sure I buy Dr. Tassoni's story about her and her mom not talking. They're family, right?
I think she's being straight with us. Or at least I don't think she lies very often.
Yeah, she's probably really bad at it. Hey, want me to ask her about her sex life? Might be illuminating.
I don't think she's used to teasing, good-natured or otherwise.
No fun, Commander. Too bad those ruins got destroyed. I mean, they lasted thousands of years. That's impressive.
Now, again, that may be that could be seen as Ash wants to, like, tease her in a bad-natured way, but she really doesn't. It's something that, let's just say that I've encountered personally, that kind of teasing is actually not ill-natured at heart. Ash, of course, as we'll see, she'll become friends with Liara later on. At the moment, she just kind of would... It's kind of like when you meet someone new and you want to kind of see, how they are. And so it's kind of that fun nature teasing where Ash wouldn't necessarily mean anything by it. So just to kind of, she can tell that Liara is pretty young, doesn't get out much and all that. And let's just say I've seen that kind of dynamic intermingle, so to speak.
Do you have a few minutes to talk? One-on-one?
Sure. I was hoping to get a minute of your time off.
Okay, so this is it. So I'm warning you guys right now. I'm probably about to go off here. Because this is the conversation that really... It paints Ashley in an extremely negative light to a lot of people. Even though that's not really what's going on here or the intention behind it. And it's put a label on Ashley that I think is extremely unfair, considering that there's much worse going on from other characters around us compared to what Ashley is saying or doing here. And where she's coming from is much... It's very understandable and rational when you understand why she feels this way. So let's go ahead and start hearing it.
I keep an open door policy. If you have any concerns, lay them on me.
All right. I know things are different aboard the Normandy, but I'm concerned about the aliens, Vicarian and Rex. With all due respect, Commander, should they have full access to the ship?
They may not serve the Alliance, Chief, but they're allies. At least as far as Saren goes.
This is the most advanced ship in the Alliance Navy. I don't think we should give them free rein to poke around the vital systems. Engines, sensors, weapons.
You don't trust the Alliance's allies?
I'm not sure I'd call the Council races allies. We, humanity, have to learn to rely on ourselves.
Standing up for ourselves doesn't mean standing alone.
I don't think we should turn down allies. I just think we shouldn't bet everything on them staying allies. As noble as the council members seem now, if their backs are against the wall, they'll abandon us.
That right there is one of the main points that Ashley is trying to make. And the analogy that she's about to use is part of that point. What she was trying to say is that she was not saying that we should turn them away, but she's not saying, let's not put all of our apples in this one basket of we can totally rely on these council races to help us out and defend us and such, when that's not really what we should really do. And, well, let's continue.
You got a pessimistic view of the universe, Williams.
A pessimist is what an optimist calls a realist. Look, if you're fighting a bear and the only way for you to survive is to sick your dog on it and run, you'll do it. As much as you love your dog, it isn't human. It's not racism, not really. Members of their species will always be more important to them than humans are.
Now, I want to clarify something really important that a lot of people have misunderstood about that analogy that she was trying to make. People have heard that and thought, that she was comparing the alien races to a dog. That's not what Ashley was doing right there. She was saying, the humans, are the dog. And the council and the council races are the dog walker. The point that Ashley was making with that analogy was that if worse came to worse, or push came to shove, the council races would go ahead and abandon us to protect themselves and save themselves. As in, the walker would sacrifice the dog to save themselves to the bear. That's the point that Ashley was trying to make. And here's the funny part. She's right. Because we see this later. The council races don't really care about helping humans. They want to protect themselves. We see this firsthand in 3. They attack Earth, we go to them and say, help us. And they say, no, we're going to protect ourselves before we consider helping you. And people have gravitated to this, trying to label Ashley as a space racist. That because she is cautious against aliens, which she has reason to, given her background story and what happened to her family. What's funny is that this is so mild compared to everything else going on around us from other characters. We will see and hear other NPCs and such be more racist than anything that Ashley just said. I remember one conversation that happened between a couple of Asari on Ilium, where one says, wow, you're so aggressive. I guess that's because your father was, and she goes, because he was a Batarian? Is that what you're saying? Well, at least I'm not and the other goes, I believe the term you're looking for is pure blood. That's 2 of them being racist to each other, and that is more so than anything that Ashley just said. Ashley is not openly being incredibly prejudiced toward the aliens. She's being extremely cautious. She pointed out this is a very highly top secret prototype Navy ship, and we shouldn't let them have access to being able to look at and take and copy data and look at it in terms of the vital systems and stuff that could be considered top secret amongst the military. This is still a military ship. You don't just let random civilians or such that are part of your team just kind of wander around and just kind of look at some of the more important and top secret vital systems aboard that kind of prototype ship, which has both human and Turian technology, which they don't exactly want people going around copying this tech and making more of these ships amongst others, because it could end up in the wrong hands and such. So it's understandable that she would be, cautious about perhaps not, letting them just have free reign to every area of the ship. There are some places you would want to have guarded or be restricted. It's very common in various different places that you would have certain places restricted to only certain people or personnel, that only they would have authority or access to them. So it's incredibly understandable that Ashley would have this kind of, caution. She just happens to label both Garrus and Rex, when really what her point is that it should be the case for basically everyone, not just the aliens. But it's easy to then misunderstand that when she brings that up. But the overall point is that she is saying that we should not count on these council races, and she specifically labels the council races because, as we have seen from the council, they have a tendency to go, yeah, whatever, when it comes to our needs. This has also been reiterated throughout the game from both Udina and Anderson. They both said that the council and their races keep putting their own priorities instead of helping them and kind of leaving them to just kind of defend themselves. It's like how Anderson said, they force us to have to make colonies out on the border of the Traverse, but then when we get attacked in dangerous area, they don't want to help us out. They only made those colonies there because that's the only place the council would allow them to put those colonies. And the arc that happens going forward for Ashley really shows that she grows out of these cautionary feelings even more so through her time spending time with the others. Not to mention, in this game, by the end, we will encounter a extremely racist group called the Terra... What's the actual name of the group? The Terra Nova Foundation or something like that? Or, Terra something. It's an extremely anti-alien, pro-human group. And here's the funny part about this whole thing with Ashley. She outright denounces them and talks very much against what they believe in and does not agree with their stance at all. She makes a point of this. But you as Shepard can go ahead and actually agree with them. You can have Shepard be more of a racist in this series than Ashley. If there's anyone that could be labeled as a space racist in this game, it should be Shepard, not Ashley. I am so sick and tired of people constantly saying that they hate Ashley because she's a space racist. There's so much more to Ashley's character than that, and her romance is also really nice and wonderful if you go through with a full romance of her and show how far she has come. And just shows how close that she and Shepard have a connection since we first met her on Eden Prime. I love Ashley. She's one of my favorite characters. Kimberly Brooks also does a wonderful job. I love her voice acting. I'm sick of the hate that Ashley keeps getting. It's not warranted, it's not necessary, it's misunderstood, and I'm just so sick and tired of it. It's really gotten to the point where right now I'm considering sacrificing Caden on Vermeer and keeping Ashley just to help continue showing her growth as a character. Because, darn it, I'm gonna keep defending Ashley no matter what. Ugh. I already kept her alive in my other run, but I feel like doing so again just to keep showing it. In fact, I didn't even show the Ashley romance on camera, which a part of me wants to try and actually do that at some point. But there are other videos that are much better done by others on other channels that have the entire romance on camera. It's much better edited, much better shown. Feel free to look it up if you've never seen how the romance is like. I know some people that they really like the romance that Ashley has in this game. But I really had to get that off my chest and really had to talk about this because I'm just so sick of hearing it over and over all these years, even to this day when people, some people even right now are playing this and they're still having this reaction when they hear this, not fully understanding what Ashley is trying to say, especially when it comes to that analogy. And they immediately start hating Ashley and just, the screeching chorus, it gets so tiresome to hear on the internet about Ashley. I'm so sick of it. It really upsets me.
These seem like deeply held beliefs, Williams. What made you think this way?
My family's defended the Alliance since it was founded. My father, grandfather, great-grandmother, they all picked up a rifle and swore the oath of service. I guess we just tend to think of Earth's interests as our own.
I come from a military family, too. My parents were both Navy. Anybody in your family we might know?
Couldn't say, Commander. We probably have a lot in common. You join up to carry on the tradition?
Obviously, Ashley lied there because, as we're going to find out, she's not entirely okay with opening up about the truth about her family because it's understandable as to see why. So...
Mainly I wanted to serve. Protect the Alliance, save lives,
Glad to hear it. I'd hate to think you were out here for a free college education.
Wait, free?
It doesn't sound like you've worked with aliens before.
No, ma'am. Mainly I've been groundside, part of the surface garrison forces. I did get a rotation on a space station for training. Every Marine a rifleman, every rifleman ZG certified.
This is when we start to kind of pick up that she has had assignments that are less deserving than she really should have because of her last name.
That's odd. Your record is spotless and your technical scores are exemplary. You should be serving with the fleet.
Anyway, that's why I haven't served with many aliens, Commander.
So yeah, she's still covering it up because she's, it keeps haunting her, everywhere she goes. Being labeled as the descendant of the person who surrendered to aliens, she's not quite ready to open up to Shepard about it. But she will.
Alright, I can see where your concerns are coming from, Williams. But this is a multilateral mission. You're gonna have to work with aliens, like it or not.
It won't be a problem, Commander. You say jump, I say how high. You tell me to kiss a Turian, I'll ask which cheek.
Now see, if she really was, like, a full-on racist, and I have my own definition of what I consider to be racist, and what she brought up, that's not what I would consider racist. That's what I would consider to be cautious. To me, racist is full-on, like, the intention of referring to them by very insulting, derogatory terms and not caring if anybody hears or what they think about that, where they don't care about insulting the other races and such by the terms that are very insulting, and just isn't even concerned about it. That's, to me, full-on racist right there. That's not what Ashley is. We bring this up, and a full-on racist, if she actually would have some kind of snide comment or remark in response to that. But instead, she's like, it's okay. It won't be a problem. You know?
I don't think kissing Turians will be necessary.
You never know, Commander.
Dismissed, Chief.
Ma'am.
So, yeah. I'm sorry. I was saving that. I had to get that off my chest there. You know, like, it, you know, going back to what I was saying earlier about Liara when it came to the pureblood thing, that's why I brought the two examples of the two Asari using that. Actually, if she really was a full-on space racist, as people label her, she would be referring to Liara as a pureblood, just to insult her, just because, you're an alien, I don't care. Like, that's terra firma. That's what it is, terra firma. That's the group of people that would be doing that. Not Ashley. Ashley is not a space racist. Period. So, we made our rounds, and I'm gonna go do some side content stuff on some of the other planets. Yeah. I'll be saving a couple of important things for when we head back to the Citadel, since a couple of main things are going to happen. One, we're going to be confronted by an Alliance admiral who's going to want to do an investigation of inspection of the Normandy. And he's going to confront us about our alien teammates here. And we're also going to run into somebody from, well, not necessarily Shepard's past, but the past of her mother. So stay tuned.